Hello everybody, my name is Mateo Leon Rodriguez and welcome back to my Authortube channel. In today's video, we are back on Project Monarch Medallion. For those of you that are new, firstly, hi, hello, welcome. But secondly, Project Monarch Medallion is my current work in progress. It is a YA/renegade urban fantasy set in Mexico. What we're actually working on today is the map for Project Monarch Medallion. While this story is set in Mexico, I don't feel comfortable yet just picking a city and then starting my story from there. So all the places that you're going to see in this map are fictional and made up by me. Let me just preface this by saying that I am not good at drawing, I'm not good at making maps, but we're going to make the most of it. With all that information out of the way, let's get started. So, while I'm making this map, I thought it would be a good idea to recap what's happened in the story so far. The story starts off with 15-year-old Joel Mario Gonzalez Rivera as he wakes up on his 15th birthday. So, Joel is happy about his birthday, but he is missing his older brother that he's been told moved to the United States 3 years ago. And since then, he hasn't had any contact with him. Well, as the story progresses, we find out that Pascual, which is the brother's name, did not actually move to the US. He was captured by the main bad guy, Don Judas. And yeah, as you can see in this scene, I'm kind of drawing like the town plaza, which has a pavilion in the middle, and the church. Because this town that Joel lives in is called San Paulo. And San Paulo is a very small, like, urban town that's, like, filled with small houses, small shops, and an even smaller population of people. But yeah, when the story picks up, Joel gets his birthday presents and everything. One of those things was the alebrijes that he uses in my magic system. And my magic system is based on alebrijes. If you don't know what alebrijes are, they're like little sculpture figurines that are now associated with Day of the Dead. And they're supposed to be like guardians that guide souls to, like, the afterlife. But yeah, they're basically figurines. And my magic system is sort of based on that, but I think it would be better to focus on something else. But yeah, so that's where the story starts off. He finds out that his brother's not actually missing, that he's been captured, and that this same bad guy has a family heirloom, which is the Monarch Medallion. This Monarch Medallion is something that Joel's grandfather made for his grandmother when he was going to propose, because he was a metal worker. So instead of getting her a ring because he couldn't afford it, he made the Monarch Medallion. And ever since then, the Monarch Medallion is passed down to the son of the family to give to someone that he wishes to propose to. So that's why it's important. But yeah. And as the story moves forward, Joel leaves his small town. He goes through the front gate, or the front entrance of the town, and he heads off to the next town. The next town, which I will probably make here in a second, is called Santa Clarita. So Santa Clarita is the next town that he goes to. Santa Clarita is also the home of Don Juarez's next victim. The way that Joel knows that that's the next victim is because while he's dreaming, he's been getting visions of like a house, and Don Juarez is there, and so is his brother. He doesn't know how he sees these things, but one of the people that lives in Santa Clarita is it comes in while he's in that dream, and turns out that's the next victim. So right here I'm making Santa Clarita itself. The thing is that when I put Santa Clarita and I was describing it in the story, I didn't describe it much farther than like the shop where he goes into, where the next victim is. So as you'll see in a second, there's just a lot of question marks when it comes to what's going on in the town itself. Because, a town is much more than just shops and houses. So at some point, I have to figure out what else is there. But yes, so Joel has this dream. He goes to Santa Clarita where he just happens to run into the next victim. So after that happens, there is a creature known as the Duende that goes after this victim. That's what Don Judas does. He sends minions after the victim. So yeah, a Duende is like an evil little elf. So that's what Joel has to face in order to save the victim and also himself since he's getting in the way. But yeah, as you can see, the victim's name is Miss Fernandez. Miss Fernandez went to Don Judas because she suffers with arthritis. Nothing is working, so she seeks his help because a lot of people claim that Don Judas is a witch doctor. But what people don't know is that he uses dark magic. He was never going to actually heal you. But yeah, this is Santa Clarita. Like I said, there's a lot missing. It's just a shop, some houses, and everything. So yeah. So Joel leaves this town, goes to Santa Clarita, and then once he's helped save Miss Fernandez, he moves on to the next portion. The next portion is just a small little area with a big mesquite tree. And then Joel encounters what is known, well, he doesn't know at the time. All he sees is like a dog, right? Large dog. And he follows this large dog to a river where the supposed owner is weeping in a river. Now, if you don't know, a river and a weeping woman is not a good thing in Mexico. Because if the lady in white is weeping next to a river, that's probably La Llorona. And in this case, that's what it is. Joel doesn't realize it's La Llorona until later. And the dog, apparently, is also a spiritual sort of creature. The dog is actually a cadejo, which is sort of like a hellhound that drags you away to hell. So Joel has to fight off both the cadejo and La Llorona. Don't ask me why I put duende when I labeled the dog. That was just a mistake. So yeah. So Joel uses his Albrecht magic system to defend himself. And once he's done with that, because eventually he does, he almost drowns, but eventually he gets out. He goes back to the same tree and he falls asleep. And that's where he has another dream. And in that dream, Don Judas finds out that Miss Fernandez, the next victim, is still alive. So now that the duende tells Don Judas what happened, and Don Judas knows that Joel exists. But yeah, as I'm showing here, after Joel defeats them, he defeats the Cadejo and La Llorona. He goes back to the tree and he meets Culebra. Culebra is his real name is Luis. He is also an Alabrije magic user, and unfortunately for Joel, he can't help him because Culebra, while he's experienced and wants to help out, he also is on his own mission, which hopefully I will make into another story. But moving on, Joel continues his road forward. He has to go up a hill and cross up a hill, across the street, And while he's on this hill and on this street, he decides that maybe he wants to take a little bit of a break. But yeah, what I'm drawing right now is the road itself, which is kind of the calm before the storm. So it's a very nice road with, trees on either side providing a lot of shade and everything. But of course, it is a YA/middle grade urban fantasy, so that means that Joel can't have a break forever. And eventually, he hears something in the forest. He hears like a baby crying. So, against his better judgment, he decides to go check it out. Well, unfortunately for him, that was just the lechuza. The lechuza is kind of like a harpy. So, it's a giant owl with like an old lady face. And he has the encounter with that. That's what it kind of looks like if anyone to draw. But yeah. So once he has this encounter with La Lechuza, he has to go back down the mountain. Not mountain. Sorry, hill. So he goes back down the hill, and this is where I include just another town that he's passing through. No detail really. It's just a way to get to where Don Judas is, which is called Colirana. Now, Colirana is known as a witch doctor town. It comes from the expression sana sana colita de rana, which is something that parents say to kids when they get hurt. So, these witch doctors called their name Colirana because they claim they could soothe any sort of pain like it was nothing. So that's how it got its name. But yeah. So at the point that we're in the story, Joel has officially made it to Colirana. He is next to Don Julius's house, which is the biggest of the town. He makes the most money. He's the most powerful witch doctor there. But yeah, that's what I have so far. Hopefully this video made sense. Trying my best to keep up. When I was recording this, I didn't feel like pausing and umming and ahhing while I was drawing, so I thought I would do this voiceover instead. I hope it worked out better than I thought it did. But yeah, again, I'm not good at drawing, but I think this really goes to show what I need to work on. I need to work on the other towns and describe them a little bit more. Because, I can't just say, oh, he went to a town. Like, that's not very engaging. But yeah, either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this section of the video. Okay, so as you can see, this map making thing ended up becoming a sort of map making and sort of retelling of what's happening in the story so far. I feel like this exercise definitely helped out. I definitely see where the weak points are, and I'll make sure to look at them when draft 2 comes along. If you guys have any tips on fleshing out worlds and making maps and all that, I would love to hear it in the comments down below. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to leave a like. If you guys want to follow along on this journey as I try to make a better map, or as I try to finish this work in progress, feel free to subscribe. With all that being said, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. This is Mateo Leon Rodriguez, Authortube extraordinaire. Thank you for watching my video. You could find another one there.